So let's do some reflecting on what worked well during the 4-state challenge, but more importantly, what are those areas I highlighted or noticed during that challenge that I really need to shift my focus towards and really prepare for in getting ready for the Mohican 100 miler. Cheers, y'all. How's it going? This is just going to be really kind of like a broad spectrum overview of some of the key things I need to focus on that I learned, the key lessons I learned from the 4-state challenge that I need to focus on in preparing for the Mohican 100 milers. If you want more specifics and you missed it in the past, I just put out a longer video earlier this week, about 30 minutes, that is a very in-depth, detailed coverage, mile by mile, how that challenge went. So if you're interested in that, I'll link to it down below. This is, like I said, just going to be focusing on those overall lessons that I'm going to take with me into training for Mohican 100 miler. So today is day 2 of the daily running vlog. We are off to a good start, 39 days away from Mohican 100 miler. 39 days is not a lot of time. As far as training is concerned, big focus is just going to be on building volume back up into my training, high mileage weeks, back-to-back long runs, just the usual kind of ultramarathon training. But then there were certain things that kind of came about during the 4-state challenge, or that I highlighted during the 4-state challenge, that I really need to hone in on in preparing for this 100-mile endurance challenge. Before we jump into the specifics of the video, just want to take a moment to give all of you a massive shout out and a thank you. Yesterday, I put out the challenge in the video, noting that I am getting ever closer to that 1,000 subscriber threshold. So I asked all of you to share the channel, share my videos, try to get others on board as well. And I'm already up 5 subscribers since putting out that video. It may not seem like much, but that is a huge daily boost for me. So really looking forward to hopefully crossing that 1,000 subscriber threshold before Mohican. So thank you. Please continue to share the content. If you don't subscribe already, I hope you will. And as always, please click that thumbs up button to help other people find the content as well. But that being said, let's get into the specifics of the video, what you're here for, what went well during the 4-state challenge, and what I need to work on in preparing for Mohican 100 miler. As far as what went well, there's really just one area that I want to hone in on, and that's my gear as a whole. Overall, gear went off spectacularly well for the 4-state challenge. If you watch my recap video, I mentioned that I forgot to apply Body Glide to anywhere besides my feet at the start of the run, and didn't realize this mistake until 30 miles into the challenge. Being that long into a race, not having put on Body Glide usually is gonna have some pretty dire consequences, but luckily for me, I experienced almost no chafing, just some slight chafing on my thighs, but other than that, made out totally scot-free, and I think that just speaks volumes to the quality of my gear, how well everything fits, especially the Orange Mud Gear Vest Pro. That is absolutely going to be coming with me to Mohican. Very impressed that this was my first time using trekking poles, no kind of blisters or abrasions on the inside of my hands as well. The only piece of gear that I am definitely going to need to upgrade, and have already purchased a few things to try out, is my socks. I got some pretty gnarly blisters on my feet during the run. That was really the only piece of gear that I thought could use a little bit of tweaking, so I'll be trying out some new stuff in preparation for Mohican. Apart from gear, I really identified 3 main areas during the 4-state challenge that I know are going to be issues during Mohican that I really need to hone in on and focus on in the few remaining weeks of training before that race. Number 1, heat. Oh my God, heat was such a massive challenge during the 4-state challenge. It was brutal. I have not run in heat in quite some time. Just need to prepare for that as much as I can. Any kind of heat adaptation drills that I can do, anything like that, but also just need to mentally prepare for what heat is gonna do to my pace, what it's gonna do to just how I'm feeling overall on the run, and just understand that heat is most likely going to be a significant factor at Mohican 100. I'm still holding out hope that maybe we'll get lucky, but obviously prepare for the worst, hope for the best. I want to be as prepared as possible to take on that heat, plan to move faster in the pre-dawn hours and overnight, and plan to just mostly power hike and things like that, take it easy during the hottest points of the day. Just really need to expect that to be a massive variable of the race, and prepare for that in getting ready to tackle the Mohican 100 miler. Number 2, in a similar way, is nutrition and hydration. Another thing that really kind of started to fall apart during the 4-state challenge was just my overall energy levels, and I think I was just not as prepared as I should have been with the type of nutrition that I needed. I really just thought about the waffles, the gels, and then brought some Cliff Bars as well, but really I think need some more substantial, more solid food that I can take in. Something that I was hopeful about during the 4-state challenge was, at one point, someone from our crew broke out a big fresh vegetable quesadilla. and it looked delicious to me. I came very close to taking a few bites of that, but it was good to identify something that sounded good to me, especially because that was at the hottest point of the day when I was exhausted. And again, if you've run ultra marathons in the past, you know how hard it can be to just convince yourself that you need to eat something. It's hard to find something that sounds appetizing when you're that uncomfortable. So I'm thinking maybe like quesadillas, grilled cheese, just simple carb heavy. Cheese has been known to sit pretty well with me during endurance efforts and things like that. So I'm hoping just some simple bland meals like that, as well as what they have at the aid station. Still trying to find out specifics of what will be available. I've heard peanut butter sandwiches. I'm hoping pickles, because God knows I love pickles, but just trying to figure out what will be available on race day and what I can take with me as well. And in addition to the fuel, hydration is just going to be a massive concern, especially if temperatures are particularly high. I definitely identified during certain intervals of the 4-state challenge that I just was not taking in enough fluid. I really just need to be more conscious about taking in substantially more water, especially I think, but then electrolytes as well, just to keep those energy stores up, especially earlier in the run. I was running as more of like what I would take in during a training run. I tend not to take in as much hydration because obviously I'm going to finish sooner, so I can just keep a water bottle in the car. But knowing that this is likely going to be at least a full day effort, I just need to be consistently taking in fluids throughout the day, and just again come up with a strong strategy for that before the race and make sure that I stick to it during the race. So fuel and hydration is definitely something that I'm going to focus on honing in and perfecting in my training runs leading up to this race. And then last but not least, strength training and hill training are going to be massive. Again, if you watch my recap, you know that elevation was a huge factor during the 4-state challenge. I like to pride myself as being someone who's pretty good at climbing. I can tend to just power through uphills. I don't have too much of an issue with it. The uphills combined with the heat is when I really started to struggle. That's when I felt my heart rate just spiking and really had to take precautions to make sure I wasn't overexerting myself. So I think part of heat training is going to be just getting out and grinding through some hill repeats and hill exercises again in the weeks leading up, or the last few weeks of training getting ready for Mohican, just grinding through some hill challenges just to get better acclimated to that, better ready, get my body better ready to handle those climbs that are going to come up in Mohican regardless of what the temperature is. And in addition to that, obviously not just hill climbing, but doing some isolated, dedicated strength exercises, focusing on glutes, quads, hamstrings, calves, etc. Just focusing on strengthening those muscles that are going to carry me up those hills. Obviously, I am relatively fresh off of a recent IT band injury, so I'm gonna bring in a lot of the exercises that I learned from PT, just to make sure that my legs stay healthy, but then continuing to go even further past that to just better prepare the strength in my legs to get ready to take on those climbs. Something that I didn't really think that I would be focusing time on, but I definitely will be, is strengthening my triceps. My triceps were destroyed after the 4-state challenge, that being the first time I had ever taken trekking poles out. My triceps were destroyed, and they were also the muscle that took the longest to recover after the race. So nothing too crazy, but definitely gonna be doing plenty of tricep dips and things like that in preparation for this race. So quick recap, gear went very well. If you wanna see the full breakdown of all the gear that I took with me on the 4-state challenge, I'll link to that as well below so that you can go see it. But everything worked exceptionally well, except for the socks. I've got some new socks coming in the mail, some toe socks, which I think will be much better at handling blister prevention. I've run in toe socks in the past and really enjoy them. And then those 3 areas that I really need to focus on honing in preparation for Mohican: the heat, just preparing myself to accepting that heat is going to be an issue and preparing on how to confront that issue, dialing in fuel and hydration, coming up with a strategy, perfecting that strategy in training, and then executing it flawlessly during the race itself. And then last but not least, just continuing to grind through strength training and really probably alternating heavy run days with heavy strength training days, again, just to make sure that my muscles are as prepared as possible to take on the stress of this run. So that all sounds really good in theory. I'm working with my coach to kind of put that all together into my actual training plan week to week, and just looking forward to getting started. I am definitely very nervous for this race, but very excited. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you are enjoying these videos. 39 days left of the daily vlog, which means 39 days left till the Mohican 100-miler. If you want to stay tuned for all the content that'll be coming out, be sure to subscribe if you don't already, and please share this video around to your friends, help other people find it as well, so we can hopefully get this channel up above 1,000 subscribers before the race. But thank you as always for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.